Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Sometimes, the moments that break us also become the ones that shape us into someone new. I never thought that a single evening, an evening that began with betrayal, would become the turning point that taught me the real meaning of love, forgiveness, and strength. It all started on a quiet Saturday. My wife, Elena, had always been warm, charming, and unpredictable. We had been married for 6 years, and like any couple, we had our ups and downs. But in recent months, I had noticed a change in her. She was more distant, her smile shorter, her laughter fading quickly like a candle in the wind. I asked her what was wrong, but she always waved me off with a gentle, "I'm just tired." That night, I came home earlier than usual. She looked startled to see me, as though I had walked into a room I wasn't meant to enter. She quickly recovered, though, and kissed me lightly before hurrying into the kitchen. I remember feeling uneasy, though I couldn't quite place why. Something in her eyes flickered with secrets. Later, when the doorbell rang, I was still sitting in the living room, sipping tea. Elena's face went pale, and her hands trembled as she went to open the door. I stayed where I was, my heart thudding strangely, as if it already knew what was about to unfold. And then he walked in, a tall man with a confident smile, carrying the kind of charm that could fill a room. His eyes flickered with familiarity as they landed on Elena. She looked at him the way she hadn't looked at me in months, bright, nervous, alive. That was when the truth sank in like a stone in water. This man wasn't just a guest. He was her lover. For a moment, the air froze. My instinct was to explode, to rage, to throw him out of the house and demand answers. But something inside me, whether it was shock, pain, or an odd sense of clarity, kept me calm. Instead of revealing myself, I stood and walked toward them with a composed smile. "Welcome," I said smoothly, as though I had been expecting him. "Come in." The man hesitated, clearly surprised by my tone. Elena's eyes widened in horror, but I didn't let it show that I had already pieced everything together. If this was a game they wanted to play, then I would control how the story unfolded. We sat together in the living room, the three of us. I poured wine, offered food, and asked polite questions. My wife fidgeted nervously, glancing at me as though waiting for the storm to erupt. But instead, I listened, I smiled, I engaged. All the while inside me, emotions collided: hurt, anger, disbelief, and a strange curiosity. The man, whose name was Adrian, spoke confidently, as though he was already part of our lives. He told stories, laughed easily, and each time he glanced at Elena, she blushed like a schoolgirl. I studied him quietly, searching for what she saw in him. Was it his boldness, his carefree spirit, or was it simply that he wasn't me? Hours passed, and finally, I decided it was time for the truth. I set my glass down, leaned back, and fixed my gaze on Elena. "So," I said calmly, "are you going to tell me how long this has been going on?" The room fell silent. Adrian froze, his confident smile vanishing. Elena's face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. I simply waited. The silence stretched between us until finally Elena broke down. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed everything. How lonely she had felt, how she had drifted away, how Adrian had seemed like an escape. Her words cut through me like knives, but beneath the pain was something else, a strange sense of release. At least now, the truth was no longer hidden. Adrian tried to speak, to defend himself, but I raised a hand. "This isn't about you," I said coldly. "This is between my wife and me." He left soon after, realizing there was no place for him in that room anymore. And then it was just Elena and me, sitting in the silence of all the broken promises that hung between us. I thought I would hate her in that moment. I thought the love we had built would crumble completely. But as I looked at her, shaking, crying, vulnerable, I saw not just the woman who had betrayed me, but also the woman I had once fallen deeply in love with. The woman who had laughed with me under the stars, who had held my hand through life's storms, who had once been my best friend. "Why didn't you just talk to me?" I asked softly, my voice breaking. She sobbed harder, whispering that she had been afraid of rejection, of being misunderstood, of admitting that something was missing between us. And for the first time in months, we talked. Really talked. about the things we had buried, the walls we had built, the love we had neglected. That night, instead of ending us, became the night we started over. Not with blind forgiveness, but with raw honesty. I told her that trust was broken and that it would take time, maybe years, to rebuild. She promised to fight for it, to fight for us, to fight for me. And strangely, though my heart was shattered, I believed her. In the weeks that followed, our marriage became a battlefield of emotions, pain, hope, anger, and tenderness all colliding. But slowly, we began to rediscover each other. We went on long walks, we shared our fears, we relearned how to touch without guilt. It wasn't easy. There were nights I lay awake, haunted by images of her with him. There were days she cried, ashamed of the damage she had caused. But through it all, we held on. Love, I realized, isn't just about passion or loyalty. It's about choice. Every day, we choose whether to stay, to fight, to forgive, to rebuild. And though betrayal had nearly broken us, it also forced us to confront truths we had ignored for too long. Months later, as I watched Elena laugh genuinely again, her eyes meeting mine with a tenderness I thought was gone forever, I understood that our story wasn't about betrayal. It was about survival, about the brutal surprise that became the catalyst for a stronger, deeper, more honest love. Because sometimes, the moments that threaten to destroy us are the very moments that give us a chance to begin again. And that night, when my wife's secret guest arrived, was the night our true journey began.